Welcome back. Did you miss us? No, I didn't think so. And we're going to move on to this next game between Hyperion and Enclave.
Speak for yourself.
I missed me.
Please,
Terribly.
please tweet me if you missed these Irish boys to my left. I've had to put up with them the whole night, so I
It's just the beginning. You have another day tomorrow.
Potentially more.
Yeah.
We're not coming back.
Yeah,
They're
we're
not
never
bringing us
coming
back.
back. Never coming back.
Reminds me of Sheen and Rob.
It's Tig,
I like the way you gave up on
Tig
spelling
and
O'Sheen.
Jake.
Never write them into the schedule again. Anyway. Anyway, guys at home, please tweet me for #ForzaChampions if you want to replace these two lumps. I'll happily take anybody.
Or tweet at us if you want us to replace him with Foxdrop.
Oh.
Ah!
That's an easy replace. I would replace myself with Foxdrop.
I think we'd all replace ourselves. It's just Foxdrop by himself. And it's
Let's just like
more
Foxdrop.
have a Foxdrop and then have Foxdrop and then maybe his brother Fi just for the memes.
Oh yeah, true.
And then you can have
his
like
dog. No, it'd be Foxdrop, his brother, and his dog.
Shad.
Yes.
And that would be better.
Oh,
than
and use the
us.
dog for
Beautiful.
predictions. It'd be great.
Yeah.
I mean, Shad, $1 for Hyperion,
Yeah.
$2 for. Anyway, we're gonna. my production team have just told me I need to stop and actually do something that's relevant, and we could talk about Twitter, because if you do have the Twitter, it is at LVPUK on Twitter, and you can also use the hashtag ForzaChampions2 or just ForzaChampions, both work. Also, if you want to catch up on any of the VODs, you can go to LVPUK on YouTube, and you can find the VODs from pretty much every single game that we've broadcast, so you'll be able to find all of the good stuff there, because if you want to see, I don't know, XL slam dunk Diabolus a couple more times, go free. If you want to see how Rifty absolutely took
Slam dunks.
slam dunks on
in the most literal sense.
in a literal sense. I was about to say took a slam dunk, but that doesn't really work. I was just going to say something else, but I'm glad that you picked. I'm glad that you picked up the sentence for me there, Asheen. And we're going to move on to picks and bans, ladies and gentlemen. Somehow wasted enough time till we got there, and we're going to jump in. It is going to be, remember, the side swapped over. Enclave will now be on the blue side. It will be Hyperion on the red, so Hyperion will have that last pick potential, which we assume will go to Dan, unless they just straight up pick and Poppy for the memes. I imagine there'll be a Darius ban. I can't help but think there might be a Darius ban.
I don't know. I think that's a bit of a stretch. No, but I think honestly right now, you don't put Poppy up top lane. You can't put Poppy up top lane. Fair enough, Dan XD, that's your favorite champion, that's your best champion. It's crap. Move on. Pick something else, anything else, and you'll be in a better position. So we're seeing pretty much the exact same bans coming out from Enclave, you know, and then pretty much the same on side of Hyperion, but they actually banned a Zoe.
They banned their own champ.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Aaron.
They're taking our advice and saying they're banning something different.
I'm wondering, I think Enclave, I mean, that's a really good pick for me. I think Bendy has shown across multiple weeks. If you watched our highlight plays from last week in the tournament, you saw Bendy basically 1v4ing sometimes on this Lucian. So it's a good pick for him. I think Lucian's just a solid AD pick in general. One of those ADs that doesn't really suffer from the traditional AD drawbacks that we have right now in the current meta, because his build path is so markedly different and makes use of strong items like Black Cleaver.
There it is.
There we go.
Okay, I like this. I like this adaptation. You're going with a strong bot lane. I'm still skeptical about top.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can smash lane hard enough in bot lane, maybe you can cover for what happened. But, I mean, I think that's a very tall order to go against the likes of Bendy and Haddo. Like, these guys have just gone from strength to strength. So, it's going to be a tall order, but at least they're getting, you know, strong lanes elsewhere. So, maybe Demo can try and help out that faltering lane.
Some of the strongest bot lanes in terms of traditional matchups right now, the Lucian Braum is the tried, tested, the true, and you've got the Zaya Rakan, which were obviously designed to specifically be strong together. So the obviously these guys have got a pretty, I'd say this is pretty equal matchups right now in the bot lane. Both of them is a bit of a skill thing, and now we're waiting for Enclave just to round things out. It looks like Eren is going to take the Yasuo, and again this flexes, so obviously can go to Eren. Obviously also could go up to Rifty. I know he does play a little bit of Yasuo too, so it depends on the matchups that he finds himself in.
Yeah, there is no junglers picked up right now though, so you could end up seeing, I was going to say, you could end up seeing Hyperion pick up something for Demo.
Just,
and then
I mean, they ban Darius. They have to ban Darius. Like, this is, if they do not ban Darius, if they do not ban Darius, they are inting this draft.
Yeah,
they are
like
absolutely
like
100% inting this draft.
But I was going to say, I like the fact that they did pick up their top laner because now they can target ban stuff away and keep him relatively safe. And oh my lord, there is a god. Darius has been taken off the table.
I mean, the Mundo pick was specifically picked up for this situation. In that right place there, they knew that there was unlikely to be a top lane locked in that early on for Rifty because he would have wanted to get the best possible option for a counter pick. Obviously, I think Hyperion had the idea. I'm saying it's obvious about 50 times so far. Hyperion could go for a counter pick for Dan, but I think the likelihood is that his champion pool is so slim, he's unlikely to be able to counter something that Rifty throws down on the table. And Rifty often in these situations will just pick something like a Renekton anyway, which has very few counters in the top lane regardless. So he's gone for the Mundo and banned the Darius. There we go.
Yeah, honestly, he could go Fiora. He did
I think Fiora's fine.
I think Fiora's totally fine into the Mundo matchup, and it gives you similar kind of setup to what a Darius would as well in terms of execution, in terms of being able to kind of dive them constantly. And you know, the only thing you don't really have is the full apprehend to bring them back in closer.
You don't have the team fight really as well.
Exactly,
Darius does have the team fight more so.
Well, it's also that true damage because if you're thinking about it, like you've just taken Mundo, if you're going Renekton, you don't really have that true damage that Darius did. So if you're going Renekton, Lucian, and then you've got the Yasuo, that's an easy pickup of armor for the Mundo, and you just don't really worry.
You have a limited time period with the Renekton to actually win that lane as well. It looks like the Syndra gets locked in here. Now, would you take the Syndra matchup for the Yasuo? I think his win wall can be so influential there. But
yeah, I think it can, but it's also just it's very, very easy to keep yourself safe. I think that's kind of the thing, is just a case of, look, we're just drafting bot lane has super strong lane, we don't need to worry about it. Mid lane should do fine as well. All we want to do is make sure that we can keep this top lane in order and then see what we can roll with. I think that's kind of the composition that they're going for right now, and
that's a Monkey's pick right there. A Gragas Monkey's pick.
Well, it could go top.
Gragas jungle.
I
don't see it going top.
I don't see it going top. Given how hard Rifty stomped his opposition.
He's full of he's full of testosterone. He's like, no, I want the hard carry. Jarvan does count as a hard carry if you fill them all full AD.
To an
extent. Can blow people up.
I mean, you even could put Jarvan mid. You could genuinely even put Jarvan mid and then throw Yasuo top into the matchup versus the Mundo, because Yasuo versus Mundo is not a bad matchup for Yasuo. So,
are they?
Another full AD comp? Do it. Do it for the Vine.
You ain't gonna do it.
No, but like, there's so little answers for the jungle right now for demo, and you know, technically Jarvan can still go into the jungle or the Gragas. Like, you know, I think he's actually going to go with the Jax.
I mean, it could be Jax jungle. It could even be Mundo jungle, which is which would surprise me. I haven't seen a Mundo jungle in quite some time, but you can max Cleaver and you can actually just chunk Dragon really early. It's something that did used to happen, but Jax jungle's probably played a bit more regularly right now.
Even then, it's fringe at the best of times. And I feel like this is kind of like last-ditch effort. They're hoping that they can get demo on someone who's a carry. We talked about him and his carry potential. They're hoping that he can make the plays and everyone else can just stay safe. Yeah,
that looks like the case. And it does look like Rifty is going to be taking Jarvan to the top lane here against the Mundo. I guess just looking to go all in early as possible before Mundo gets that opportunity to scale up and get towards the ultimate. We'll have to be kind of worried about the Jax, I suppose. If you do commit with the EQ combo, you suddenly become very vulnerable to a Jax gank. And this is the time where I reel in Champion Select and say to my good friend Demo on the left here, I want to know about win conditions right now. I want to know how these teams go on to Summoner's Rift, play their little champs, and get the win.
And how your name's now Demo.
Yeah, I was going to say, I get a bit of a Freudian slip there, because it is Hyperion need Demo.
Also, there is a Northern Irish cast. I know you're not Northern Irish, but there is that Northern Irish cast who I cast with sometimes called Demo.
Yes.
So, yeah.
There's just too much. There's too many there. But
I hope you're not watching Demo. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you. I also didn't mean to confuse you, Rob. Yeah.
It's fine. God, if I know at this stage. But,
we're so far down the rabbit hole.
I think it is. Demo is kind of going to have to help Hyperion through this.
Yeah, that's the reason they made the Freudian.
That's what I was going to say. Freudian slip.
Segue.
So I think it is just a case of, if you can try and get in, if you can get Aaron controlled in that mid lane, I think Syndra can actually do a lot there, because it's just a case of you burst him out so heavily that he doesn't get a chance for the win wall. So if you can get that rolling, it's going to be great, but it is heavy reliant on as well trying to get Dan XD just fine. Just keep him safe and he should be in good order. Because Yus and Snuggly have a great matchup there. Like, you just do well into, you won't go aggressive, but you don't really lose out either. So you're not worried about your bot lane in that scenario. So I think that's really it. And then transition in towards your team fights where you can just burst out someone like the Lucian once they sidestep out that little bit too far. far. If you look at the side of Enclave, it is pretty much a case again of try and get this split push rolling, have Rift start to get going on the Jarvan. He does great in that scenario because he's got a lot of pushing power. He's able to take towers incredibly quickly because he got the attack speed steroid there as well. So, and then of course the teleport in is just fantastic because he's great in flanks and locking down that back line, particularly someone like Xayah, because yes, she's got that Featherstorm for safety, but she's still in the Cataclysm, so it doesn't really make a difference.
And there's quite a lot of combination for the Yasuo here. You've got the Gragas Cask, you've got the Gragas Belly Slam, you've got the EQ combo from the Jarvan, you've got the Braum ultimate, you've even got Yasuo himself. There's plenty of ways to set up specific engages for that Yasuo. Definitely feels like it's going to be a core pillar of this composition coming out here from Hyperion.
And we saw it as well.
Sorry, from Enclave.
Because we saw it as well in the last game, because Gragas kind of fits the same niche as Sejuani in a lot of situations, and we saw just how well Aaron and Monks played off with each other, and it's going to be the exact same, I think, this time around.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think right now, if I'm Enclave, just play standard. You know you are technically better players. You know you have the complete destroying of them in the first game. No need to change anything. But on the side of Hyperion, you need to make plays. And I feel like that's all on Demo right now. And I feel like because Demo was like the one tiny shining light in that game last game where he was able to sneak a dragon, he was able to make some small little plays, but just with how far his lanes were behind and how much gold was just being funneled into this Darius unintentionally, it was just impossible for him to make the plays that he needed to. Now he's on Jax, now he can go in with Counter-Strike, actually be meaningful. If he can get a couple of items and maybe jump onto carries, he can be the one to bring them back out of the hole.
And Rifty made a tweet actually in between games. It was a very humble tweet. Actually just said, genuinely humble tweet.
I was like, oh god, no.
Genuinely humble tweet, said, you know, happy how he did with game 1. I really want to continue this momentum into game 2 and take the seal and get the victory. So, you know, I mean, very humble from the guy, the guy who practically solo won the game at about level 2. He was super strong, and Rift has always been a strong top laner in the UK, so I'm glad he's getting another chance at that spotlight.
Is he Rifty or Rift?
Well, I think I've known him as Rifty for so long.
Yeah, because I remember him as Rifty years ago.
He's technically called Rift now, I think, or Pure Rift or Rift, but I always call him Rifty because I think most people just know him as Rifty, unless he...
Rifty, tweet at us, let us know.
Unless he DMs me and says that please call me Rift.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, like, unless he specifically asked to be called Rift, because I just think like Rifty like flows a little better.
Yeah, I've always preferred Rifty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the next tournament now, and he just added a Y to his name. It's just like, well, I suppose.
So, gentlemen, that time of the evening that we've done several times this evening. Do you want to flip-flop? I'm selling them at 4 times the price, so
we're getting screwed.
I'm going to dissuade you from buying it. I mean, I'm guessing your last. Tell me everything that I need to know. Do you think this is a higher Enclave victory?
Yeah, I think after the last performance, and with the composition that's drafted, Enclave just look like they're going to continue it.
Honestly, I was on the train. The train is derailed. It's in a bush. it's on fire. It's not happening. Unfortunately, the hype train is dead. And I honestly, unless I see a massive turnaround in terms of playstyle, I don't see Hyperion coming out with it. So Enclave 2-0.
Yeah, and I think that's where we were before the series as well. Enclave definitely looking like a really strong matchup for XL if they make it to the final 2. XL definitely will be studying this intently. I think especially that top lane matchup. I mean, Sendu versus Rift will also be an incredible one to sort of keep your eyes on. But they're not yet. They do have to beat Hyperion one more time. Not saying that it is impossible for Hyperion to come back here, but it does look like the likelihood is that Enclave are going to seal this out in a 2-0 victory and cruise their way into that grand final of our second Forge of Champions tournament, which obviously puts them in a position where they're going to net at least, was it like 2,000 and something points? They're going to net at least 2,000 points and obviously have the opportunity to get the massive amount of points towards the end as well. So great position for both teams if they find themselves in that final. Anyway, I have had the word, which means we are into the game between Enclave and Hyperion, and you'll also notice that these sides have swapped over. It will be Enclave on blue, Hyperion on red. BP and Gosu, take it away.
Yeah, I was just going to say that champion mastery in the skin spotlight was huge. I was like, I'm really good at this champion.
Hyperion was just like, by the way, this. Well,
was it even a level 7? I think it was level 6.
I think it was level 6. It wasn't a level 7. It was definitely, it was purple. It was definitely not blue. So
I'm better than Snuggly.
I don't know how that translates. You know what?
No, don't. The mastery says it all, okay?
The results-based analysis.
Don't look at my rank.
Well, we're already seeing straight away Hyperion trying to get something on this bot side, but we talked about it a little bit, you know, Bendy and Hado on the Lucian, the Braum, old school, oppressive, aggressive bot lane. It's going to be so difficult in these first few levels to really get a foothold for the side of Hyperion.
To be honest, I don't think either of these guys really want to go overly aggressive. I mean, Zyra Khan, famed for how strong they are, the same way Lucian Braum. It's just a case of you've got a lot more disengage when it comes to the way that the Zyra Khan plays. Is kind of snugly going in, he gets the dash back out, and you kind of end up just going tit for tat. There's not really like any one big winner in that lane. So I think you just hang on for a while and see if you can get that jungler intervention to really twist it into one's favor. But
Dan, don't do this. I had flashback, like
yeah,
literal PTSD
oh.
flashbacks. I was like, please, Dan, for the children, don't do this. I see a little bit of a trade there in the mid lane as both junglers find each other, but it is Hado who makes the first rotation. Nothing else really happens, and again, it's going to be kind of a slow start. I feel like both sides are feeling a little bit antsy. You know, Enclave super confident in their place, you know, feeling good about themselves. At the same time, Hyperion, they got to make stuff happen, because if they can get a good few kills early game, they can make a snowball happen and potentially cause the upset.
Yeah. I'm still very nervously watching this top lane matchup, because it feels like DanXD goes into these and doesn't really actually know the matchup. Because it's been a few times now where he's kind of testing the waters with a few auto attacks here, a bit of a trade here, and going, okay, cool, no, I lose this. And it's happened a good few times now. I'm like,
I was going to say, it reminds me of, like, you know, bots where you come over and they auto attack you, and then you auto attack them 3 times, they go, oh no. I got to walk away. And I feel like he just needs to kind of like get that out of his system and hopefully not die because of it, and then he'll be fine.
Well, I mean, it's costing him a lot of CS right now, because don't forget the passive autos from Jarvan are just so difficult to deal with, and he's landed a couple of them onto DanXD now, and he's just can't really farm.
There's another one there, as you can see, just a lot of decent core damage. Base damages from Jarvan so high, especially at the early game. That's why he's kind of considered, or was considered, one of the greatest junglers back in, I think it was season 4 or 5. He was just unbelievably strong with his early game and his EQ combo. But so you see, as we said, the goal for DanXD, as I was about to say, isn't actually to win. It's just to not die. Demo going a little bit too ham, and I actually feel if the Infected Cleaver had landed, they could have killed him. It was very close, because the Infected Cleaver does do a percentage health damage. It might have been close enough, but Dan was not quite on the same page, but Demo blows his flash for no reason.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive trade. Like, even if you are looking to get the connection there, that could still have been a kill going over, but... And don't forget, like, Rift still had that flash available as well, so there's the chance that he just completely disappears and you got nowhere to go, so... Very risky play, doesn't quite pay off, ends up resulting in Demo's flash, and they end up getting the TP at a Rift, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, not the end of the world. We are getting voices in our heads telling us that they are in a pretty decently long pause.
Yeah.
And,
oh, is that what your one's saying?
My one's my one's actually just screaming at me to text DanXD and be all like, tell him to just sit under tower, do nothing. Obviously, we're being a little bit harsh on him right now, but I think Demo actually makes a little bit of a mistake here. I don't think his focus needs to be top side. I think it needs to be maybe towards that mid lane. You know, we're going to have a little bit of a replay scene, you know, Demo kind of going towards his top side. And, you know, I just don't think this is the optimal play.
Yeah, I mean, it can work out. It most certainly can. And if he does get the kill, it just sets him up incredibly well. It's just, it's so difficult to gank a Jarvan who still has his flash up. So you can see as well with the older minions that are there, if DanXD had hit the cleaver a couple of seconds earlier, and it meant that there wasn't as much of a distance for Rift to be able to cover, I think they could have picked up the kill. I most certainly think that could have been it. But it was just a case of DanXD wasn't quite getting into position early enough to get that cleaver to slow him down that little bit more. And it just means that you're kind of like, don't let Rift get ahead has been kind of the name of the game so far. And I don't think you've really got the burst in mid lane to try and help yourself out. We've already talked about bot lane not really going anywhere. So I think overall, as out of an optimal play, I think that's the way you go.
I think on reflection, looking at that top lane gank and the pressure put down there, I think less about actually getting the kill, more about relieving pressure for Dan. Like, one of the earliest places that he screwed his lane up was about level 4, level 5 versus the Darius matchup in the Poppy. If you just go there, force Rifty to burn his flash, you suddenly put Rifty on edge. You know, now he's actually got to consider getting ganked again. That might temper Rifty's aggression, which will be a really important part there, because obviously you saw every time Martial Cadence was up, wham bam, thank you ma'am, take a percentage HP away from Mundo, slap him with the Dragon Strike to reduce the armor as well, to impact that even more. So, you know, it's something that is an attrition lane there for Mundo, but that gank right there might give Mundo the amount of time to get to level 6. That might now just give Mundo the time to get to level 6, and that might be enough for him to survive this matchup with Rifty. Don't think you can impact bot lane too much at the moment, because I think it's so easy for them to turn that around with the Lucian Braum, especially when they get towards level 6. And the mid lane can be risky as well, simply because of that Yasuo. So nimble, and if you're in a minion wave and you're trying to land a counter strike, you can just dash out of it. You've obviously got the wind wall to block off a lot of the Syndra damage, so I actually think top lane is not a bad place to invest resources. If anything, it stops Dan feeding.
I suppose, yes. Everyone gang up on me, that's fine.
Yeah. Stay in your play-by-play box.
Yeah,
okay?
I will not do any analysis. I will stay here and talk about the game.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing, is that like early stop and feeding, and I think there is the opportunity to kill once we hit the level 6 point in mid lane, and that's where I really want to see if that's something he wants to go for, because that's a lot of CC that can come down. You've got the Scout of the Week, which can get the stun, easy setup then for the jungler, the Jax just counter strikes, you got the lock up, and then it just gives the Syndra enough time to bypass the wind wall and then just use the ult.
Yeah,
so I think you do have that option there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about locking him down, but then when he's 6 as well, he can also counter with his own engage, and you've got to remember that Monkeys could be on the sideline somewhere on this Gragas, which has got a lot of early impact damage too.
But in Hyperion's ideal world,
ideal.
in the dream that we've created for them.
I love that we're getting small replays of the birds on the Summoner's Rift.
That's what I want. I love this kind of stuff.
Oh,
I love when you get to see all the little kind
Actually,
of
I'm going to ask them to just give us a tour of the animals on some.
There's a snail right behind the dragon pit that like really sets up for a beautiful cinematic if you can hit it right. So that, you know, if the observers can get that.
Is this the same snail that's like a Tribush?
Yeah, right there.
That's the snail that you use to get the Scar award over the wall. If you put it in the middle of the...
If you put it right, so basically that's like the pixel perfect. If you put it right on, then it will go over right onto the Tribush. It's a perfect snail.
I think we just need like a full tour of the animals now.
Yeah. I like the way we're giving useful information. Like, no, I want a zoo. Yeah. Just give me the zoo. I'm on holidays. I want to see it.
I don't want to talk about this match anymore. I want to talk about the animals of Summoner's Rift.
Yeah. I want to go see the frogs. There's a lot of frogs.
Oh yeah, there's also the duck. But he's like,
we've had the duck. We've already had the duck, mate. You missed it.
Did I miss it?
We had the duck, and we just had the bird. It looked like Far-Fetched. You know.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, like he just put a leak in his mouth. He'd be all like,
oh, we've wasted enough time again. It looks like we've got the pause over, and we're going to jump into game.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel, and thank you for bringing us on the tour of the animals, and thank you, observers, as well, for making this a much more interesting interval as we jump back into game, as we see Hado and Bendy just sitting there in this lane, want to try and just maybe get something. Ooh, could have fit a bus through it, as the Q goes right through absolutely everybody.
Yeah, not able to connect that, but we will be waiting to see if they can put a little bit of pressure down, because, look, there's a Mountain Drake available on the bottom side of the map. They're going to want to get some sort of pressure down there. We're already chatting about that mid lane matchup and how if you can get a kill there, that could easily set you up as just creating the pressure you need for that Mountain Drake. But it's definitely still all to play for right now, as no one has really given up too much, but slowly and steadily, just through that top lane and also through the mid lane, Enclave are starting to get a little bit of a gold lead.
So where do Enclave go with this? Where do they look for their early advantages that they got similarly to Game 1? What is their kind of, you know, first 15 minutes of plays?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're already just kind of saying that when you're looking at Hyperion, they want to play through top and mid. They want to try and make sure that's okay. So if I'm Monkus, I'm like, right, I want to shut that down. I want to go up and get onto Dan XD, especially with Cataclysm available right now. You can burn a flash so easily up there. As you can see, he's hovering around up there to see if he can get the opportunity. But same in mid lane. You set up Aaron so incredibly well with that explosive cask if you can get it, or even the body slam. He's hit that level 6 as well, so last breath is available. Why not take a visit and see if you can create some action in that lane?
Dan XD, don't know if he knew that the Monkus Gragas was around. Actually, I'm pretty sure he didn't, because there is zero vision around that side of the jungle, and plenty of it for the side of Enclave. But he does notice it. His sixth sense starts tingling, and he starts backing away. He's going to have a huge wave, so he's not going to lose a huge amount. He is nearly 20 CS down, so he's got to hope that he picks up most of these, as the red buff does get taken away by the Gragas. And Jack's gonna unfortunately find himself without a red buff, and that's very sad.
It is, especially for Jax, because being able to have the auto attack come through and just slow them up after the counter strike is pretty helpful. But I mean, this is just what happens. It's whether you get the kills or not, the pressure that's created through this top lane matchup is just giving free roam with the jungle to Monk, as he'll end up picking up 3 buffs for himself, being nicely ahead of Demo now as well. But it's again, where does this come across? Where does this now feed into the rest of the map? Because it requires Monkus to make a play, as he'll be hitting that level 6 pretty soon.
Yeah, level 6 hit in the mid lane. Actually, level 7's hit in the mid lane. So might see Syndra and Yasuo going a bit ham. Do you think he called himself Eren because he loves Yasuo because it reminds him of Attack on Titan?
Let's go with that one.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't ready for the anime reference. I was like, hey, God, which one again is that?
Always be prepared for anime when I'm around. No, but we'll see how he, you know, if he kind of channels his inner Titan Slayer and takes down the Mundo. As I say that, though, it's going to be a full Cataclysm in. Oh, whoa! Monkiz, a little bit of an overengage. Oh no! The explosive cast is awful, and the unleashed power means it's a 2-for-1 trade. Enclave get 2 antsy, and it blows up in their face.
Monkus miscalculated the body slam flash, doesn't connect with ADM as he's getting out of the stasis, and it just falls apart. Eren gets 1 kill, but my word, like, this was a great start. This was fantastic, but Monkus mistimes it, gives ADM time to flash, gets caught underneath the tower with a great stun from the Syndra, and yeah, easy pickings.
I actually feel that was 100% Monkus trying to style, because there was no need for him to flash body slam. If he understood the timing, he can just ult, or he can just walk up and body slam. Yeah. It's not that big of a commitment. He literally body slams one way and tries to get the flash the other side.
Yeah, there was creeps in the way, so I can kind of understand, but at the same time, it is,
It is very much a little bit of like, I'm styling on you, and unfortunately for Enclave, it really backfires. And the fact that the kill goes over to Demo and over to the Syndra, along with an assist, Syndra was 20 CS down. That means very little now.
Yeah, it's definitely going to help her out. But the first blood did go over. Or sorry, the first blood actually went over to Demo. So it's not as big of a win for ADM, but it's definitely going to help him out in that lane. The stopwatch is down, so a repeat gank like that could cause big issues there. But I don't know if Enclave really want to try that again, especially with how poorly it went. But never mind me.
Yeah, they might just go in for the fight. We see a full ultimate committal there from the Rakan, and he ends up paying for it, and Demo as well. They just didn't expect it. It was a 4v2. They just didn't know where the rest of the side of Enclave were, and they're just getting punished so hard.
And it falls back again and again to where is the vision for Hyperion right now. They don't have control of River. They have no defensive wards there. They give across the kill. They give across the blue, which, don't forget, the red buff was already just stolen away too. So that's all of the buffs on the red side of the jungle gone. And now they've lost the Drake as well.
It's just... That was just, I feel like they kind of almost felt like the Gragas was by himself, and they were like, we got this, and then everyone else arrived, and it was like, oh dear, we need to... But like, look at the vision as well when we look at this replay as well. They just don't know where the rest of Enclave are.
Yeah, and the brilliant engage comes through just from the Rakan. It's so easy to force that engage. Follow up with Eren as well. Bendy raining down on top of them with the culling. It's just good night.
And the fact that the Xayah wasn't really in position, had to nearly engage with her ultimate, which is not what you want to be seeing at all. It's not something, it's hardly an ideal situation. But while that all happened, and Snuggly gets a hit, but not quite a backstopping, but at the same time, it's going to be a little bit more interesting to see now. Dan, positives. Dan has fitted himself into this top lane. He's now feeling a little bit more comfortable. He's got a bit of armor, a bit of health, a little bit of wave clear, and he's going to try and do his best to try and deal with Rift on this Jarvan. Honestly, he's doing not a bad job, but the rest of Enclave are here to destroy the party as he flashes away. There is the body slam as Dan does actually get the stopwatch off in time, but there's the EQ combo we talked about with the Dragon Strike. But Rift stays a little bit too long. He takes another hit from the turret, and now here comes Syndra. No real disengage there available from Enclave. They do have the win roll, which stops it a little bit, but now Hado and Bendy are coming in. The rest of the side are trying to go for this, but Syndra goes down. ADM stays far too long, and they end up trading 1 for 1.
They do trade 1 for 1, but you can see Enclave are not looking cohesive. That's a very split call of the tower dive. Rift goes back onto DanXD. He's coming out of stasis. He ends up going completely opposite direction to where Aaron and Munkus was going. So yes, they have Bendy and Haddow come up and salvage that, but it's still not clean from Enclave, and you can kind of tell after the last game that they're playing a little bit sloppy. They're not playing to the same level that they were, and it could definitely cost them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that, you know, simple little mistakes, Rift turns to go away and then turns back to try and get the last hit under the tower, despite having, you know, the tower aggro onto himself. Really not really what you want to be seeing from the guy who literally wrecked the, you know, the opposing top laner in the last game. But we might see another gank in this mid lane. We do not get the knock-up though, as they just try and jump in on top of this. It's a good knockback from ADM, but there's just too much damage, no armor whatsoever, and that is most certainly going to be mid lane turn going down.
Yeah, Demo used his Counter-Strike clearing out that camp, so there was no way for him to go in and try and help out once that dive came through. And he would have just been walking in, maybe would have been able to dissuade them or pick up a kill, but I really don't know. But we're going to be looking at this top lane dive again, and it's a nice setup. It is very good, but the thing is, like, they spot Demo here, so they know, look, maybe it's not the best idea to go for the dive. They go for it anyway, but you can see connection. Rift is going backwards here, so no communication there. He's backing up. Then he turns onto DanXD. You can still see Munkus and also Aaron are going on to Demo, and it's very back and forth. There's no real communication there, and it ends up costing them. It was only a kill at the end, but they really need to make sure that these aren't things that are plaguing them continuously, because Hyperion aren't, like, they're not, sorry, Enclave even aren't quite in the finals yet. They still have to finish out this game, and the longer it goes, you're seeing it there. DanXD will end up picking up a few kills and be happy with himself.
And they will see bait out the Xayah ultimate as well as the Rakan. They do get the charm and the knock-up as well, so that's actually going to be a good bit of damage down onto Munkus. But Xayah was forced out with the explosive cast, and that is going to be a pretty easy disengage from the side of Enclave, who have now got themselves a 3,000 gold lead. Yeah,
they do have a 3,000 gold lead, but a huge portion of that is on Aaron. So if they can manage to if Hyperion can manage to get the connection onto Aaron and shut him down or shut him out, a large portion of the damage that's coming through for Enclave is just going to be wiped off the board as well. Yuna, you need to be so careful right now.
I don't know if I agree with this right now, because they have got the Gragas here. There is no real big ultimates apart from the culling, but I feel like they're just going to back away. Munkus is sitting there around there. They have cleared out the vision, so they know he's not on a ward, but this tower is just going to go down.
Yeah, it most certainly will. Bendy's going to shove this in now. There's nobody here to defend it. Even Jax has just been like, look, do you know what? Just let it go. We're moving on to better pastures. It's going to be Rift as well, pushing into the bottom side of the map to see if he can try and finish off the last outer turret. DanXD will meet him in that and will end up picking up a bit of farm. But you can see Enclave, despite the sloppiness, are still just picking up everything that they want.
So, fun fact, coming up to 15 minutes in the game, DanXD is ahead. Because the amount of
you ain't wrong.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. He's got a kill and he's got about 10 CS. But the reason behind that,
you did.
Yeah, well done, Dan. You did us all proud. The reason for that, of course, is because Rift has been roaming like crazy and creating good ganks for his team. As I say that, though, Dan, he's actually taking these trades pretty favorably.
Well, that's what I mean, is that when you look at the composition that's come through from Enclave, pretty much all of it is going to be AD. So you got the Sunfire Cape, now you got the working up towards the Thornmail, and like there's a lot there that just means he can't get through this Mundo, and this is just going to go and continue getting worse and worse for Rift. He isn't far enough ahead, as you were just saying. He's actually behind to really be able to go toe to toe with Mundo.
And that's kind of a big issue right now for the side of Enclave, because we talked about it in Champ Select. There's no real true damage apart from the IE that will be built onto Yasuo. So, and you don't want that Yasuo to be on the Mundo, because he's going to be taking so much damage from the Thornmail, as well as just the random auto attacks and the Sunfire Cape and the Burning Agony. So he's got so many things that he doesn't want to be near of. But now we see Rift. He's in a little bit of trouble. Does have the EQ, gets out of there pretty damn easily. Munkus does chase away the Rakan, and Rift finds himself in a pretty decent situation. Dragon is spawned, but it is only a Cloud Drake, so neither side really going to be going for that one anytime soon.
Heap of people down on the bottom side of the map, because that's where they chased the Hyperion down to. So Enclave are like, great, free hit on this mid lane turret. So it's still, Hyperion look like they're making the proactive plays, but even then they're still falling behind.
And we see there this Hyperion just being cut off from the side, making sure they can't really get anywhere. And that just leaves Jarvan in this bot side to take this turret almost uncontested, as you can say. As a stun does land onto Hado, but probably the least wanted target for the stun to hit. And that's a third outer turret, the last of the outer turrets going down in favor of Enclave, and they've opened up the map.
I feel like we're watching Shepherd and Sheep right now, where it's Hyperion are the sheep that are just dancing around, trying to keep up with Enclave as they move around the map, but they're just being herded into unfavorable positions. Push them down at the bottom lane so they're cooped up underneath that tier 1 turret. Then they start to rotate back to save their tier 2 turret in mid. Great, that leaves Rift open to go and take that bottom lane turret. Now they have the Rift Herald because you've rotated mid again, and it's just like, okay, cool. They're just continuously just moving Hyperion around the map, and again it comes back to Hyperion can't spot where these guys are going because they've got no vision.
And that's a big thing as well that we've kind of talked about as well. It's the lack of kind of, you know, it's almost very solo queue-esque, you know what I mean? You're not expecting this level of kind of coordination and cohesion from a team, and you're just kind of going, I'm in solo queue. There's no way that the mid, the top, and the jungle are all going to combo together and get these 3 waves pushing and whatever. But you're in competitive play. You're in a European regional league. You are in a very high level of competition. You need to be prepared for this, and honestly, it just feels stale.
I think what highlights the difference between the vision and these two guys is look at the vision score for Monkiz versus the vision score for Demo. It's like 10 more for Monkiz, but it's 10 out of 26, so you're nearly a third more on the side of Monkiz.
And Monkiz had the Rift Herald.
Yeah, exactly.
So he couldn't even gain points while he had the Rift Herald.
And that's what I mean, is that it's just been a case of Monkiz has been able to set up his team so much more than Demo has. Yes, we're looking at Demo making the plays, getting the ganks down, but with respect to being able to give the information to his laners to make the aggressive play or to make the smart choice, it just hasn't been there because we haven't had the vision control.
Yeah, vision is key. Vision is paramount, but what is not something that the side of Hyperion will want to see is that IE Phantom Dancer finished up onto Aaron into that mid lane, and that is scary when you're losing towers left, right, and center. You only have pretty much 1 and a bit outer towers left. Then you're left with inhibitors, and the Yasuo will dive you.
And look at the difference between Yasuo's build and Yusa right now. Hyperion Yusa is just completed 1 item, whereas Yasuo has just completed entirely a second Zeal item. So they're an entire item ahead, and these are kind of guys where you can kind of match them together just because of they're both building these crit style items, but it's just Aaron is so far ahead as your big AD damage dealer.
Yeah, Black Cleaver finished up as well for Rift in that solo lane against the Mundo, so we'll be shredding against that armor, which he has stacked up quite a bit of. Still a long way away before he's able to really deal with anything in terms of the the Mundo dealing with the Jarvan until he gets that kind of unkillable sense. But I don't know, it's Enclave, it's almost like a death of 1,000 cuts. You know, it's slow, but it's, you know, they're not really kind of losing any lives, but they're not gaining anything either.
Yeah, but you got to be careful because we are already talking about the timer that they're on with this Mundo. You brought it up there where he hasn't hit that unkillable stage, but it is still there. So if they can't push this through, and this is something that's kind of been, for Enclave at least, has been a bit of a trouble point, where it's how do we transition from this good early into this mid game where we can start to really drive home our wins. It kind of is that waiting until they can catch people out in and around the barn, and there's this long drawn out dance. They haven't got that cohesion there to just go for it. This is looking like a little bit of a different story, where we've seen them work very well at taking down the turrets that they need to, working through those outer turrets incredibly well, now getting the mid lane tier 2, nearly getting the bot lane tier 2 as well. But it's starting to slow down. They're starting to wait. Yes, they're getting vision control in the jungle, but they're not going to be able to take the Baron for a very, very long time. So all you're doing is just giving Hyperion control back and forth, which was you saw around this Baron before.
Oh, Dan got the blue buff. Just purely passively, from Burning Agony and from Sunfire Cape, he gains himself a blue buff. But Rift takes a huge chunk of damage on the back of that, off the back of that, I should say, as well. But Monkiz is sitting around the side, and oh, Dan. We had such high hopes, and there you go, running away into death.
Yeah, but 3 members commit on the bottom side, which means Hyperion now can get some semblance of control around this Baron area, but we've seen this dance before, and they're going to just put down the vision, leave the area, and then Enclave are going to pick it back up again. But I wanted to see if what Enclave were going to do there, because they could have committed several people down towards that bottom side to get the turret, and I think that might still maybe be on the cards from right now. You can see they're just ushering that wave in towards mid as Rift pushes in bot, so trying to just continue through these outer tier 2s.
I think the word that we kind of used in the previous series, not so much in this one, is containing, and that's what Enclave are doing to Hyperion. They're containing them within their base. You cannot go into your jungle. You cannot contest against things. So we see Dan XT going over, gets some pretty decent damage down. As you can see, he actually does chunk for quite a bit, and we actually see exactly when he gets the blue buff. And it was on 36 health. It was literally Sunfire stacked up with Burning Agony. And then this is just him not having any vision, which we've harped on about so much.
But look at the thought process. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit him. Oh, I just saw blue. I'll still Rift as well, or Rift Scuttler as well. And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah,
like
I
it's just not worth it.
I think at that stage you nearly don't even invest the flash, because it's like, I'm going to die regardless because they also have flashes.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, they do end up picking a kill. That's only his first death of the game, so doing a lot better than last game. Silver linings, silver linings.
They're depth bushing though. Might catch out Munkus now, who that's a very lucky route to take, because he could have found himself in a bad spot. But
very tanky though.
He is, but well, Knight's Vow isn't the tankiest of items, but I think he still would have ended up going down. But I think he would have found the rest of Enclave were collapsing on that very quickly. But does manage to get himself snaked out of that one. Rift again is still on this bottom side, and I was wondering how much pressure he would be able to create when we saw just Dan XT was pretty much winning the trades, had got into a lot of items, but Black Cleaver is now completed, which will help him shred through a little bit. Oh my Yusa.
He had to invest the Featherstorm, and while that happened as well, Demo just gets completely chunked out by an electrocute Gragas. That's not even like an aftershock grab, it's an electrocute, so he's doing so much damage just purely off of his slight combo. Snuggly has to back away from this, otherwise Hada will catch him out. ADM, honestly, he's kind of been non-existent in this entire game. He hasn't really been where he's been. He's been incredibly slow to the rotations. He hasn't been keeping up at all. As much as, Hyperion are losing due to better map rotations, Hyperion, are just not waking up.
Well, see, at the moment, like, with the meta the way it is and with the champions that are currently there at Enclave, you need that Syndra to get ahead, or else she's not going to do anything.
Ooh. Oh, Snuggly did not appreciate having that. Actually, Aaron was the one who flashed. That's probably what triggered his happy feet and get his R out of him. But that's a big engage tool that's now down. That's a lot of stuff that you don't want to, kind of deal with. But Dan, as Mundos do, just trying to push in that mid lane. Looks like he's going towards maybe potentially a Warmong's second item, which is not a bad trade. In certain circumstances, it means he's looking for trading and then come back and then trade again. But Baron has been started by Enclave as they look to try and accelerate their lead past the 9,000 gold mark.
Yeah, they're going to try and get this down. May end up getting spotted out by Snuggly. They are pushing in the mid lane, but it's going to end up boarding over the wall. Yeah, they're going to back away. I wasn't even sure if they could do that. As I was saying, yes, Munkus is somewhat tanky, but he doesn't really have the health there. Aaron isn't in a position to try and tank it up, doesn't have lifesteal or anything like that, so it would have been an ambitious call, but they're going to get Dragon anyway.
I really don't like that call, being perfectly honest. No. I feel like it just kind of delays you again for another 30, 45 seconds. Like, I feel like it gives more time to the side of, Hyperion, who now have a situation where their Mundo has got the Warmogs. Randuin's Omen is now finished on Demo. You've got, the Zonya's finished up, the Rapid Fire Cannon. Like, these are small little item spikes, but they do make a big difference, especially when you consider that you think you are much further ahead than you actually are.
Well, this was the thing that we said, was that Enclave do have an issue with transitioning well into the mid game and into the late game. They kind of end up in this Baron dance where they don't want to commit to it. They don't really want to go away from it as well, so they end up not pushing the lanes in, not really going for like a pick underneath on a turret or catching someone out in the jungle. They place their wards down, let it go, then go, oh well, we need to go back in and get the wards again. It's just this back and forth over and over, and Rift can't do anything against Mundo, so they don't even have the side lane pressure anymore.
So what is the call now from the side of Enclave? You talked about how they have issues with just closing out the mid-game, getting those advantages that they really should deserve, but what is the way they come out of this and just kind of stomp as quick as they possibly can?
Well, what you want to do is try and get this vision completely removed from Hyperion, and then you can start to camp it out, you'll start to see the blue trinkets, yes, 1, 2 will go down, but once they're used, then you have to look at Hyperion to start going in blind. And who on this team wants to walk in blind? I mean, Demo doesn't have that much tanky stats. Actually, as I say that, we're in for a fight.
That is a great ultimate from the Rakan, but it's just not enough damage realistically right now, as the Rakan is the first to fall. They're trying to jump onto Aaron. They actually take him down. That's a pretty significant damage source taken off of this, but Cataclysm off on the backside as Rift has joined the party. Good Featherstorm from the Xayah, just not enough. Dan, you're alive, but no one else is. Demo forced to back away as well. It looked good for the side of Hyperion, but they just don't have the damage.
No, they really don't, and you can see even there as Rift running his way up, just completely decimates ADM, and now they're on to Baron. There are multiple low health members. Demo even is off to the side.
Demo, he might just try go for this. He has got a ward to leap onto if they keep it there. He is very, very low. He also does not have flash. He's trying to see if they can go in on top of this. Rift is the one to try and deal with this. It's down to about 2,000 health. They have a ward on the Rift there. He jumps in. He's just going to try and go for it. No, he gets bursted down. There's not even a risk. Actually, fun fact, Monkiss didn't even have smite. Monkiss didn't even have smite for that thing. That was so risky.
It was, but that was kind of the why you saw Rift go over the wall, to try and get themselves set up, try and just dissuade them away from it. And nobody on Enclave actually hit that, which is exactly what you wanted. But we're going to have a replay of this fight. You can see Snuggly with a great engage, but again, look at the setup. Hado is in the front line, has the shield up straight away, so nothing is getting through there. Cask as well, great setup for Aaron. Then you've got the Glacial Fissure that's coming down, and no one can escape through here. They're all just locked up in place, and it's just, pretty much at that stage when Rift arrives, it's just lights out for Hyperion, and it's getting to the point where they've got to try and figure out some way that isn't team fighting to get back in this game, because they've been hiding in bushes. They've been trying to take team fights where they shouldn't. They've been trying to get the split push going with Dan XD, and at this stage, I don't know any more ideas as to how they can try and bring this one back.
I lied. He did have smite. I got baited. I got baited. I thought he did not have smite, but I feel like had they waited, maybe they don't say in a hypothetical world, Hyperion do not take that fight, and they wait until the IE is finished up onto Yusa. That's a huge amount of damage. That team fight looks so different.
Oh yeah.
And it's just those little things where like they engaged without really knowing where everybody was. They saw two figures. They thought they might have been alone. I'm assuming that's why they went so hard on it. But the Windwall just nullifies so much of the damage from the Syndra and the Xayah. It's just, you know, those little things that you're kind of going like, in solo queue, that works. In competitive, not so much.
Yeah, and this is so difficult to deal with, and you're seeing the results.
Yeah, here we go. It's actually going to be the Syndra actually getting caught up and actually not going down. Two turrets do fall, but Syndra stays alive. Aaron is the first to fall. And that is a little bit of a misstep there from the Yasuo. Had a bit of bloodlust as Rift just pushing in that mid lane. Two turrets did fall. No inhibitors though, and that is key for the side of Hyperion. If they can continue to maintain these inhibitor line, then they should be in a decent position, but they've just got so little damage to deal with pretty much all these you know, baroned up minions. As here comes Dan, gonna try and do something, but look at the amount of damage that was done onto him just there. Rift didn't even leave mid lane. They've taken down every single inhibitor turret, and Hyperion are running around like headless chickens.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before these inhibs do go down. They're trying to get in. This is a little bit risky. They do need to be careful because Rift is on the bottom side, so as long as they don't get caught out on the top side here, they should be fine.
It's do or die for Hyperion right now, because if you let Enclave do the reset and get a full rotation of inhibitors down, it's just not going to be a fun time for anyone on the side of Hyperion. They do get the bottom inhibitor down. Dragon will be up in about 30 seconds. But what do you do? There's no way you can really deal with this on the side of Hyperion. You need to commit to a fight, but even then, that's just going to kill you.
Yeah, but look at our Demo right now. He's using a Counter-Strike to clear the minion wave. They're not looking at anywhere near an engage. They're just trying to clear out as best they can, but the base is crumbling around them. Hyperion are trying to hold on. They're trying to find some way to keep themselves in this Forge of Champions, but I think at this stage, it might be too little too late. All three inhibs are down, and with that, Hyperion are on a lone island in their base against an onslaught of minion waves.
And lack of decision is in itself a decision, and it's just shown how much you can lose by not making a cohesive call. And the fact that they lose every single inhibitor, they lose every single thing apart from the Nexus turrets just off of one push because they just couldn't figure out where to commit. Do they hard commit onto Rift, or do they hard commit onto top side to try and save either top or mid? In the end of the day, they lose both.
Yeah, they're sitting there as the house burns down around them like, this is fine. And it's not. They don't have anything that's left to go for.
The meme.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I just wanted to explain to the youngies at home, in case there was something. The youngies at home, in case there was anything that that they didn't understand. But I mean, look, at this stage, double super minions are going to be pushing into the base. You've already shown that you cannot fight. You most certainly cannot fight with those minion waves alongside the monsters that are Enclave right now. Hyperion are trying to clear out these waves, but it's just waiting on the side of Enclave till they're all together to turn the knife one last time and put themselves in the final.
See, it's only a matter of time, and look how much they struggle with these super minions as well. It takes a full 5-man stack from Hyperion just to kill off 2 waves of it. Now that the third waves are coming in, Rift guiding that one in off the top side. And here we go, it's a last-ditch effort as they go in with the ultimate from the Rakan as they try and go in with the Xayah as well. They're trying to get as little damage as possible, but there's just nothing there for them. Yusa forced to flash away out of the Cataclysm, and it's just all gone wrong. Enclave take the final fight. It could be a simple, clean 4-0. They're under towers, they don't care, and they take 4-0, they take the 2-0, and they'll see XL in the final.
Enclave, oh, they're going for the terror dive. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the cleanest game, but it was most certainly a dominating game coming through from Enclave. There was never at any point in time we thought, okay, Hyperion, maybe they got the upset, maybe they can bring this back and push it to game 3. Time and time again, they were the ones in the driver's seat, and if I'm looking on the side of Excel and looking at that game, I'm like, Enclave are looking pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think obviously from the get-go there, sorry, I think my microphone wasn't quite on.
It's okay. We could hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously from the get-go there, Enclave looked dominant. Hyperion are a different caliber of competition to XL. I definitely think there was a massive exploitations in terms of laning phase that came out from Enclave versus Hyperion. Hyperion had some, again, maybe some more flashes in the pan. Bit of oil in the pan as well. There was a bit.
There was a little bit. There was a candle, and it was just there, and he was like flickering. But it was so difficult to see how they came back into it. Apart from literally Enclave taking 55 minutes, and then it was just one random team fight. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was very impressive stuff from Enclave. A little bit sloppier this game, but nonetheless still a dominant win for them. Showed they can play a multitude of compositions, showed they have got different play styles that work. Rifty's got an eclectic champion pool in the top lane, which is something that maybe Sendo has to look into. Sendo loves his Gnar. We know that Jarvan into Gnar is going to be difficult for the Gnar in general. So yeah, I think this is going to be a really, really good final to look forward to tomorrow. Best of 5, obviously, between the two of them, XL versus Enclave. I think they could even go the whole 5 games, just the way that we've been looking at it so far. And I can't really call a favourite. Can't really call a favourite at all.
The only thing that I'd give where it's kind of like, okay, maybe XL can exploit it is Enclave's mid-game. In both games, they didn't really look like they had a cohesive plan to go and finish it out or continue to push forward. They're kind of just clearing vision around Baron, letting it reset and going in and doing it again. I think they need to have a much more definitive plan as to how you can close that out, because Excel, when they got the leads, were very much like, okay, this is the plan, this is how we try and close this out, and I don't think that ever really happened.
Smooth.
Yeah.
No one noticed.
No one saw anything. But I completely agree, and I think like the biggest weakness from the side of XL is their kind of their own frustrations as such like that, because we saw in game 2 versus Diablos is that it was just misplays that kind of stacked on top of each other, and it wasn't just like, you know, oh, one mistake, cool, reset. It was like, okay, no, I need to make up for that and like do a massive play. So I think both sides show massive strengths, but I also feel like both have very exploitable weaknesses, and like you say, it's going to be super hard for either team to really come out of it. I'm actually expecting a 5-game series.
Yeah, I think it'll be really close, and I think eventually we'll get a chance to look at the bracket and we can have a look at how everything's stacked up, and obviously you can get a visual representation of how we've ended up at this final in the second Forge of Champions tournament. And obviously both of these teams playing for a massive amount of money, but also those points that go towards the European Master spot and qualifying for our top 8 grand final playoff section of the tournament, which is obviously where we also crown our winner, but also another European master slot up for grabs too. I've got another replay. I thought we were done with replays for a second, but there are more replays, so you can go see some more in-game action. And Dan, I mean, he didn't have the worst game of his life, but he definitely was a bit of a punching bag again.
There's not really much you can say else, really. It's just kind of, you know, or Hyperion. I feel like if they want to genuinely go further in the tournament, and this is no BM as such onto Dan, I think you need to look beyond that. Like, you need to look to try and maybe like plug up that hole, because it was just a massive well of resources that was just going to nothing. Yeah,
I think I would completely agree with you in that respect. I think Dan definitely had bad matchups versus Rifty. Rifty's probably one of the better top laners in our tournament, if not top 2, top 3 top laners in our entire tournament. Dan isn't going to find no love versus other top laners as well. I don't think there are many other top laners that play the massively aggressive style that Rifty plays, and so maybe if Dan finds himself in a tank versus tank matchup in the top lane, he'll feel more comfortable, but you can't guarantee that. Most of our top tier top laners like Flaxus, Sendu and Rifty all play aggressive split push style champions. All of them can punish bad tank matchups, and playing Poppy and Mundo is not going to, or only Poppy Mundo, and early picking it as well, because something that is so important to draft phase on red side is getting a counter pick top lane. It's like a tried and tested strategy. It works so much. It helps give you depth to your composition when on red side as well. Dan doesn't seem to be the kind of top laner that can function in that kind of draft. So I think if they want to go further, like you said, Ashin, they need to go back to the drawing board. They need to say, right, Dan, you need to start playing these split pushes. You need to start playing more aggressive champions. And even, I'm gonna call it out, you need to feel comfortable in matchups. Like you said in game, Rob, it just felt like a lot of the times he wasn't super comfortable in the matchups that he was in.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You could see it where he was like, okay, I'm going to test my damage here and see how it goes, where he'd take a horrible trade, lose half his HP, and he's like, oh, okay, I lost that. Let's not rinse and repeat. And I feel like you should know that.
You can't learn on the fly, basically, in these kind of tournaments. I think we're ragging on Dan a little bit here. I think there were problems all over the Rift there. I mean, nobody else stepped up to the plate. It's just that because of the way Rifty played in game 1, he became an obvious focal point for the team. And I don't think it was just Dan's fault that Hyperion fell behind there. I don't think Demo had the most impactful games either. Mid lane, Eren, and I think ADM was all right. I mean, Syndra's ADM Syndra was something that actually he's performed on. Last week, if you go back and look at some of his Syndra play, it was really good. But honestly, Hyperion in general just need to do something extra to get themselves to that next level that you find the teams like Diabolus, like XL, and like Enclave on.
I think as well, like, you know, not to take away from Enclave's victory either. Enclave played very, very well.
Yes.
A couple of small little issues, a little bit of over-aggression. Monkiz trying to style a little bit on the flash body slam, which wasn't really needed, and, you know, delivering a Jax on top of the team, which wasn't very fun. I'm sure will be replayed forever. But Enclave can feel good about this. You know, they came in, you know, expected to smash, and let's be honest, they smashed. They did very, very well. There's a couple of small things that they can definitely look to improve on. I think both XL and Enclave will be looking at these two series, one a lot closer than the other, but they'll both be looking at it going, cool, we should feel comfortable enough with a game plan that we can take the win.
Yeah, I think absolutely right. Nail on the head. Both teams will come into this. I think XL probably look at Enclave. They know they're not going to roll over like Hyperion did. They've got strong laners. I think the mid lane is going to be a really good matchup. Eren versus Rippy. They both like to play similar styles. For me, the bot lane will be where we see massive clashes. Venza and Quickseth versus Hado and Bendy. Bendy, for me, has probably been the standout AD player of the entire tournament. I think, obviously, coming from Optic Academy, you've got a great amount of pedigree coming through there, but I think he's been the standout player. But Venza has got many instances of being the carry that XL needs. So I think this is going to be a hype match tomorrow. You need to come out, tune in when you can here on LVP UK. I believe we start exactly the same time, which will be 6 PM UK time. Now, let's have a look at the brackets so you can get, like I said, a visual representation of where we are. If you didn't know, it is going to be XL versus Enclave in the final, and you can see the paths at which they took to get here.
Yeah, it's not the destination, it's the journey you take.
Exactly.
So.
XL, let's have a look at their run. They had Nuclear Storm, easy win for them. They had Eminem. Sorry, bud. They had Eminem,
We had one. That's all about. Well, two. We got a feeling as well.
Yeah,
so
you got feeling.
We got two.
Obviously, then we had XL versus Eminem, which was a revenge match for XL. They made it past Eminem, actually with relative ease. Had a bit of a tough time versus Diabolus, but you would expect that. Let's have a look at Enclave now. They went from Forgotten in Time, which again, in a win you'd expect them to take. Mystics Academy, which was in some eyes an upset, I think, coming into this, but definitely based, I think, cemented Enclave as a top-tier team. They then obviously just took on Hyperion there, and now find themselves in that final versus XL.
Yeah, I think as well, like something to look at in terms of the tournament structure, and I don't think it's kind of been hit on a lot, is fatigue is a very real thing. You are playing multiple high-level games at multiple stages during the week, and it can take your toll on them. So Diablos might have looked a little bit, you know, kind of tired this week. Perhaps Enclave and XL might be the exact same next.
So if you guys want to take part in Forge of Champions, you've liked what you've seen, you're from the UK and Ireland, you can go to forgeofchampions.com and sign up, where you can register your team. You can also register individually, and we will match you with a team of people from similar elos. Again, you might have a blast with the open tournament. You might make it to the points tournament and get knocked out by our semi-professional and professional teams. But the fun is in competing, and there's lots to play for in the open tournament as well. It's good to get that experience behind you. And you might be a talent that gets picked up in the future by one of these pro teams. Also, if you want to check out any of the highlights from today, that's available on the YouTube LVP UK. You can also tweet us at LVP UK on Twitter and use the hashtag Forge of Champions. And if you want to specifically reference this tournament, Forge of Champions 2 is the hashtag to use, and we'll be going into the finals, like I said, tomorrow. That about wraps up the day. We've had a long one. It has been some thrilling series. The XL Diablos had the highs, lows, and everything in between. Any final words from you two gentlemen?
No, I'm looking forward now to the final. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I mean, we saw the caliber of both teams, and when you have these two guys clash, I think it's only going to be fireworks.
I have to agree. It's just going to be a huge clash of two different styles, and I want to see it go all the way.
So, you've heard everything. We're going to sign out. We're going to get ourselves 25 nugs, and we are going to enjoy them. We will see you very, very shortly. Stop laughing at me. I like nuggets, okay? We'll see you very shortly.